Hi, so this is a quick video to explain the traditional homes pilot, which was launched by SEAI recently, and comparing it to the one-stop shop or the CEG, the Community Energy Program, which are already available for upgrading houses. So the first thing is that the grants are offered by the Government of Ireland through the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland, so the SEAI. So these grants rules are set out by SEAI. We, as a one-stop shop, are one of the companies, I suppose, who deal directly with the homeowners on them, but it's the one-stop shop, or it's the SEAI who set the rules. SEI's target is they want to deliver 500,000 homes up to at least an energy rating of a B2. Their focus is on energy efficiency of these traditional houses and getting them to at least a B2. And it's of houses in general. They want to get all houses up to a B2 ideally. But they acknowledge that a large number of houses in this country are traditional houses, and the uh, existing program rules through the one-stop shop and the CEG uh, are in place already, work for modern houses, but they might not be suitable for traditional houses. So they've made some adjustments to those rules in order to facilitate the traditional houses. There's two reasons that the traditional houses might not be suitable for the existing one-stop shop and CEG scheme. Technical considerations, so the breathability of the installation, and also architectural considerations, so that the architectural features aren't all destroyed and ripped out in order to facilitate the energy upgrade. There is a very good detailed document available online, Improving Energy Efficiency. This is done by the government, the Department of Housing, with input from SEAI, but it gives good guidance from the department on what you should consider when you're upgrading a traditional building. So just briefly, and at a very high level, the different types of construction. A traditional building, why is it different to a modern building? Traditional building, you can see, and there it's a solid block wall with maybe lime render on the outside and possibly has some architectural features on the inside. Your modern house is built typically, there's different types of construction methods out there, but it's built with outer leaf, which is an outer block or brick leaf, and an inner leaf. And there is systems in place basically to stop moisture traveling from the outside to the inside. So as rain falls on the outer leaf, obviously the outer blocks or bricks soak up some of that rain, or it gets wet, but that doesn't travel all the way through to the inner leaf. So the inner leaf should be dry. There's DPCs down at the bottom which prevent moisture from traveling all the way up from the ground. With your traditional construction, that wall is a solid wall. Often there's no DPCs or membranes which prevent moisture from traveling, so moisture can travel up through the wall, or as rain falls on it, it gets absorbed in here and travels on the inside. It travels all the way to the inside. So this construction increases the possibility of moisture or condensation forming on that surface as the hot air meets the cold surface. So in order to prevent that, there's correct building materials that need to be used, which will allow for that breathability of that wall. You also have that coving in there that you don't just want to put on insulation on the inside of the wall, not considering the consequences of taking down that coving. SEI, their primary goal is energy efficiency, but they want to take into account, they don't want to be promoting people to destroying our architectural heritage of these buildings. So it's a bit of a balancing act. This is just a quick extract again. These extracts are actually from that document explained at the start. It is a good document. There is a lot of detail in it. This is just different types of walls. The main common theme for them is that they're solid, so moisture can travel from the inside and the out, or from the outside to the inside. There is also a handy do's and don'ts table there, so good little reference guide if anybody is thinking of upgrading a traditional house, for what's the do's and don'ts that should be taken into consideration. So the eligibility criteria, again, these grants are focused on the energy efficiency of the house. SEI's goal is to get it to a B2 or better. They also don't want to give these enhanced grants to anybody who, if they already have a very good house, they don't want to be spending taxpayers' money bringing a very good house up to an excellent house. So they do require that the BER is a B3 or worse. Again, I don't think that's really relevant for traditional homes. Most of them will be in a lower BER rating to start with and will be requiring a lot of work in order to bring them up to at least a B2. And they also have to meet this 100 kilowatt hour uplift. Again, that's an increase in your BER rating. Again, I don't think that's particularly relevant for, the rule is still in place, but I don't think it'll be relevant for a lot of the buildings that will be upgraded because their BER will be so low to start with. Getting to the B2 will be the challenge, and it's likely, not true in all cases, but likely that if you get to the B2, you'll already be starting with a B3 or worse, and you'll get that 100 kilowatt hour uplift. Big difference between the one-stop shop and the CEG and the traditional homes pilot is that there is a traditional building professional required. So this is a professional who understands, I suppose, both the technical and the architectural considerations of working on these traditional buildings, and takes into account that from a holistic approach rather than just from an energy side and getting the lowest U value possible. Is it the right thing to do for that construction wall technically? And also architecturally, is there considerations that need to be taken into account? So that traditional building professional is the key for this homes pilot, or traditional homes pilot. So that building professional needs to be engaged by the homeowner from the start, really, to oversee the works. So that's really the first step, is to engage with that traditional building professional. How to find one? They must be registered with the appropriate body. So if they're an architect or AI registered, building surveyor registered, or Engineers Ireland registered, and also be competent to do the work. So they must have some experience in conservation architecture, or the upgrading of these types of conservation buildings. And it is recommended, sorry, they must be involved in the project from the outset. They're a key role in dictating the type of materials that should be used. And so it's critical that they're involved from the outset, that you don't end up going down a route thinking that you can use all these materials, bringing the traditional building professional in at the end, and then they say, no, you can't do any of that, you have to start from the start. So getting them involved from the outset is really the key starting point. So with the one-stop shop, or the CEG, the existing grant programs that are out there, there's individual U values that need to be met in order to get the grants. So this is taxpayers' money, so they don't want to give you all the money for upgrading your ceiling insulation if you're only putting 10 mil of insulation on the ceiling. They want to make sure that it's good use of taxpayers' money and that the insulation or the U value achieved is good. So for ceiling insulation, it's 0.16. You can see all the other elements there. For ceiling insulation, it's 0.16. So in order to get the grant for ceiling insulation, you need to achieve a U value of 0.16 after the works are complete. This can all be measured, obviously, before you start doing anything. But it's the ceiling is I suppose, an easy one. That's 300 mil of fiberglass insulation. We'll quite easily achieve that. With the traditional homes pilot, there is the criteria also has to be hit. However, there are some changes to the U values that need to be met. they're around the walls and the windows and doors. So as I touched on earlier, the internal wall insulation for a modern house might not be appropriate for a traditional house. The wall insulation for a modern house needs to achieve a U value of 0.27. In a traditional house, they're allowing that to go up to 0.5. So they're allowing that, okay, the material that's used is the right thing to use for this construction type. Okay, the insulation value of it isn't as good as modern insulation, but it is the correct thing to be doing in the house. So they are willing to give you that wall insulation grant in if you achieve 0.5, whereas with a modern house you have to achieve 0.7. So with U values, the lower the U value, the better it is. The other thing is the windows and doors. So they do allow a relaxation of the window U value, and they'll also allow for secondary glazing to be used. So for example, if you have protected sash windows, that you can put on secondary glazing on the inside of the house, which improves the thermal conductivity or the thermal insulation of the house, but doesn't affect the external view of the sash windows. The other item that they've relaxed on, or I suppose come up with a workaround on, with insulation materials used for the existing one-stop shop or CEG, those materials need to be Irish Agromont certified or equivalent. So they need to show that that they're tested and appropriate for the insulation material, and that they're giving a grant to not a material that's just been invented in some fella's garage, that it's a tested, quality assured product, and they use the Irish Agromont cert to prove that for the CG in the one-stop shop. With the traditional homes pilot, there is a recognition there that some of the materials that are the correct ones to use are not Irish Agromont certified yet, and so they are willing to accept a declaration from the traditional building professional to say that yes, this is the correct material to use on this wall, and I'm happy that it's appropriate and is of good quality. So that's where the competency of the traditional building professional really comes into play, that they're now signing off to say, yeah, this material doesn't have an Irish Agromont cert or an NSAI cert or whatever it is. However, I'm willing to say that it's the correct thing to use. So the grants that are available are the same for the one-stop shop or the CEG or through the traditional homes pilot. So the big difference is the relaxation of the U values. So for internal dry lining, for example, you would need to get to 0.27 through the one-stop shop or CEG, the existing programs that are there. Through the traditional homes pilot, you can get to 4,500 if you achieve 0.5 or better. So that's the key element for that type of project. That the traditional homes gets the same grant amount, but the U values that are required to be achieved are slightly more relaxed, and also the certification is relaxed. So just in summary, a lot of information there, and it is quite confusing. So hopefully this helps to demystify some of it. The grants are for energy upgrades. Again, it's SAI who write the rules for these. It's specific to upgrading the energy efficiency of the home. And obviously they don't want that energy efficiency to completely wipe out our architectural heritage. The homeowner is required to engage with a traditional building professional from the start of the project. So that's really the first step, is to get that traditional building professional on board, discuss with them what you want to achieve in the house, and then maybe engage with your one-stop shop about, this is the type of work I'm thinking of doing, and are they interested in putting in looking at the grants with the homeowner and the traditional building professional. grant values are the same as for modern houses. So whether you're doing dry lining or internal wall insulation on a house built in the 1990s or in the 1920s, you're still getting the same value of the grant. The U value and the certification has been relaxed in order to take into account the most appropriate material to use on the building. So, and that improving energy efficiency in traditional buildings document is available online. It is quite a good document, quite a detailed document. There's a lot of information there for you, so it should be helpful in terms of trying to navigate what's the best thing to do. We also have an app. I've obviously been explaining the difference between the one-stop shop and the CG and the traditional homes pilot in this video. We do have other videos that are available on our app, which explain the one-stop shop and the CG and how that works, and goes into that in a bit more detail. There's also other energy upgrades that are available there, so that's available on the Play Store and on iOS, whatgrant.ie. We do also host regular webinars. If you go onto our website and go down to the webinars section or seminar section, you can click on that. It'll bring up this this kind of calendar, and it can you can click on a date then that suits you for the type of seminar that you want to listen to or attend. And there's a registration form there for it. So these are posted weekly. The home upgrades one is a Tuesday evening and a Thursday lunchtime, and then the solar one is on every second Wednesday. And there's some other webinars then that we host kind of regularly. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that was helpful and helped to try and navigate this new pilot. There's a lot of moving parts in the various programs and schemes, but hopefully that helped. Thanks for listening.